Hello and welcome to another MarketMuse content strategy webinar in our series. I'm Jeff Coyle, the co-founder of MarketMuse. And today we're going to be talking about some of my favorite topics in artificial intelligence with someone who's been living it and breathing it for quite some time, might love knowledge graphs as much as I do. Really, one thing, we try to build webinars and have webinars that cover all ways people are thinking about content at any given time. And that's a great segue for today, where we're really focusing on how Google is changing and how the world is changing in front of us. And when we're thinking about the future of search and how that should influence our business strategy, got the perfect guest. He's the senior SEO and innovation manager for WordLift. WordLift, one of my favorite companies. I probably mentioned them 500 times on webinars. Doraid Haddad, thanks for joining us today. Give us a little bit of background. How'd you get to WordLift? What were you doing before then? What's your personal mission? And then, what's WordLift?
Yeah, thanks, Jake, for the introduction. So basically, I joined the WordLift in 2018, and I was doing SEO before. So for some years, I've been doing SEO. Then I remember I met Andrea Volpini in an office in the downtown of Rome, and he was speaking to me about the structured data at that time. So it was before AI, all of this stuff in 2018. And I look what they were doing. It was a very early stage, and he was, speaking about innovations and how we can help the search engine understanding the content of our websites. That time, even no one was using structured data. So it was about building knowledge graphs, making, everything more understandable for the search engine. And we were speaking about the voice search at that time. And I decided to join the team. It was in 2000, a long time. And from there, we started, our journey in building knowledge graphs. When I joined the company, it was, small with 8 small clients. Right now we have, more than 500. A big part of them, they are, enterprise. We are at the top industry, and I'm so happy, with this starting, small with innovation vision, to arrive to the company that we have today.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah. And I love, and so I've had the pleasure of being on panels and speaking with Andrea. And if you're not familiar with Andrea, he's the leader at WordLift. And I think that one thing that connects MarketMuse and WordLift is that, and it's not so easy to understand for everyone to see, that we're trying to make structured data out of unstructured data. So when we build a knowledge graph, when we build a topic model, it's about taking something that doesn't have structure and thinking critically about, if it did have structure, how should it, and then how can we learn more about the world through seeing structure in lack of structure. And that's really some of the things that MarketMuse is doing right now, is taking this to a dramatic new level and thinking critically about this. And so I'm really excited to talk to you about a couple things that relate to this. And we'll start off, I think one thing that was seeing retrieval augmented generation, seeing certain types of retrieval right in front of us was Google's search generative experience. And so if someone's not familiar with Google's search generative experience, how would you define that and give them a 101?
Yeah, we can say it will be the SERP of the future, basically. So I'd like always, to discuss Google like a business. Let's try not always to follow Google, but to try to anticipate how Google is thinking. So why they introduce SGE, what are the reasons behind, which experiments that they are doing in the same time, because finally Google is a business. And in order, to anticipate or prepare, our websites to the next step, it's always, important, try to understand in which direction they are going. Of course, they start with the SGE after, the revolution of ChatGPT. So ChatGPT is coming, integrating OpenAI technologies, are investing in the company. They started, doing AI searches. And of course, Google, should respond in this case. So they started with the SGE, and the SGE, it was a kind of experiment at the beginning. But after we see that Google, for example, has eliminated the date of the end of the experiment. So now, before they said it's an experiment, right now we know that there is no ending date. they also extend the SGE from the states at the beginning to more than 100 countries after. So we know that it's expanding right now. And basically, they were, trying to promote the idea that moving to SGE right now, it will be, a big change. So it's kind of moving to first mobile indexing. So this is a big change in the history of Google. And we know that they will focus on this, and it will be very important as well in the future. So it's not only an experiment, it will be also the future of the SERP, what we think about.
Yeah, so they're really trying to make sure that, they're putting their hat of experimentation right in front of us, and they're doing it, in a mixed bag. And then, for anyone that doesn't understand what that is, in a search result, right below the search result, you might see a window that you can expand. You might see that it's already expanded, taking the place of what used to be the featured snippet or that real estate. It will look somewhat like a book report right now, where it's giving you a little bit of details about what you're, and it's starting a conversation, it's delivering this in natural language and flow. And so what they're focused on right now is what intents and what reasons should they show this? When should it be prominent? Is this a great experience? Do people actually want to have this experience? And it's been ebbing and flowing. As you can watch this happen, it's some of the early versions of it were very clunky. They're innovating and innovating and innovating, and what they're trying to get to is a situation where they're delivering, enough value to keep that unit in place. So, from your perspective, how should someone think about where that text comes from? Where is the text coming from? I've had a lot of people try to tell me that it's coming from A, B, and C, and I have done exhaustive research of Realm and a couple other things, and I know I'm dropping an acronym on you, but and most people would not. But how would you, if someone's just starting out and they don't know how this text is getting on the page, how is this happening, and what would be a quick way for someone to understand, like, where's this coming from? What is Google actually doing here?
Yeah, I believe Google is trying to be more conversational, in that phase. So basically, they don't want only to show results, but they want to communicate with users. From where that is coming, it's our data. So one of the things, for example, that it will be always conversational. For example, we see that basically it's coming from the FAQs, for example. So the game is easy here. More qualified data you can provide the search engine with, more you can make it to this kind of search, more you can make it, for this kind of features result that we get. Of course, the text that we see above, it's AI generated, and basically it's coming from our websites. So Google will crawl the websites, will pull out the data, will provide the data. And if we are, for example, able to provide the data, let's say in FAQ format, we can make it to the ask to follow up questions, because now Google can find the data that they need in that format that we see on Google. They are based on the data that we have on our website. More qualified data we can add, more structured data, we can provide the search engine with. We can increase our opportunity, to show inside the SGE. The same approach that we have it, for example, before for the product knowledge panels, for example, or for the knowledge panels, all this kind of rich results that started with the rich result. Now, it's evolving to the new SGE experience.
You're a little bit clipping a little bit, so I'm just going to push through, because that's what we do on the webinars. How thinking about this as another battle, almost another way for the insights from your website to make it on a Google search result. Your content can be consumed by Google's traditional Google bot. It is then potentially going to rank in a search result. Well, your content can also be consumed such that it can be retrieved as a chunk of text or retrieved as something else and shown on the page as part of a generative experience, where maybe they're combining the text of a handful of pages in order to build, and then they're generating text on top of it. And those little bits and snippets are, like you mentioned, structured data helps us get our site understood quicker, right? But they can also understand unstructured data and turn it into structure through retrieval. So easiest way to think about it, if Google can't understand what you're producing, you're likely not going to be ranking well in organic search. But there's another way that this information is being understood so that it can be shown to you right in that box. And that's for you to determine how best to put your best foot forward, not just as text, not just as quality, but also potentially telling Google, hey, this is a price. This is a price. This is a product, right? So how does this influence e-commerce SEO? So this is something that I find very few people are thinking about, but it's the most important part. And I think there's two schools of thought here. One would be the way that one needs to be thinking about structured data. And that's boring when you say structured data. So you're going to have to tell me exactly what you mean, right? This is what this is. The other is Google is trying to understand the entire journey of buying a product, and they're showing other parts of that journey. So you got to write content at all stages of the funnel. So how do you think about those two things? I need to both present my product as, put its best foot forward, but I also need to show the user that I actually understand their entire buyer journey.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is, a very nice topic. And e-commerce, is one of the best angles where we can explain the idea. Because when it comes, to e-commerce, we are speaking, because we have the price, we have the shipping details, we have all the product attributes. And it's one of our, favorite topics where we build knowledge graphs here at WordLift. E-commerce websites, I believe the biggest kind of clients that we have right now are an e-commerce website. Why? Because the SEO that we do here, it's first of all an SEO of data. So let's take a look, on Google itself and the search of Google. And coming back again to speak about Google as a business. So let's try, to come back a little bit to 2020, for example, when Google has decided to make Google Shopping also free for organic search. So why, they are moving in that direction? Because the simple answer is because they have, a big with Amazon. Okay. So what we can see that is Google is trying to be like one-stop shop page. So they want to pull all the information from all the websites. They want to show it in one page, and they want that the user get all the information that they need in one page. So for example, here in the SGE, I can see all the information about the product, like, a small description, everything, advantages, disadvantages, the term policy. So everything that I need, I can get it in one page. And I don't need to go page by page, product by product to understand and see all the information myself. Google is, doing the job for me. Why they are doing this? Of course, first of all, because they need, to get more conversions. They need to improve the user experience in Google Shopping, and they also to get, more competitive compared with Amazon, which became like the main search engine for the products right now. So this is the idea behind. So for me, as a business owner, what I can do in this situation, of course, I need to focus on the user experience on my website. This is, crucial, but in the same time, I need to focus on the data that I have. So if I am able, to provide better data for Google, and here we comes to speak about product markup, the knowledge graph behind the product markup, all of the data, optimizing Google Merchant Center, Google Shopping. Each piece of data, it's important in this case because Google will bring it and after will try to use it, first of all, to improve his shopping experience. So they need our data to improve, first of all, their businesses. A good opportunity for us because if we are able to provide Google with the information that they need, we can also get the beneficial. So it's a kind of, giving to Google to get it from it. Very easy.
Right. From what I'm taking away there is, there's two pieces of this, right? Yeah. So there's e-commerce lends itself very well to structured data naturally. Right? You have products, they have prices, you have shipping, you have, components that are reviews, they have stars, they have a rating scale, right? And then your commentary is that, Google is aiming to solve a lot more problems with this unit that it possibly couldn't solve before, but it's also right now very additive, right? So this is part of their buffet. This is part of the buffet of things that they're showing us. But one thing I'll ask your take on it is, it's obvious when you're looking at a pair of sunglasses that they cost $99.99, but they're also including content that's about which sunglasses to buy. What sunglasses should I wear for my head? I need prescription. They're also trying to cover the entire buyer journey in this unit, not just showing us things to buy. So, how do you think about content if you're an e commerce shop? If you don't have coverage of that buyer journey, you're not going to get presence in that space. In your mind, do e commerce shops need to rethink their approach to illustrating that they understand the buyer journey, whether they're selling socks or cars?
Yeah, I believe first of all, they need to focus on the data that they are providing because what we see, from our clients is that in most cases, businesses have the data, but they are not providing it in the correct way. So, and as you are saying, basically, I can see everything that I need. I can compare all the prices. I can see everything. So this is in that case. So working on the data will be, important. And of course, after improving the content based on the data that I have will be even more important. And this is the reason why we build knowledge graphs. In the webinar, I don't want to anticipate because we will, going to speak about it. But let's say that first step, starting with the data, get everything, that you can get with the data, with the commercial, building a knowledge graph of the product that you have. Then, of course, this will fail because finally Google won't find all the data that they have. They will improve their SERP and they will also give you more opportunity to appear, on the SERP that they are evolving.
So the take basically that you're saying is that this is another opportunity to have more real estate than you could have before. And you're doing it, and how they approach this with paid, with organic, we don't know where that will land.
Exactly.
But if you're making that content if you're making the content in a free form way, it will have so much opportunity. If you have additional structure in there, it'll have other types of opportunity. And that leads us to a great question from Coulter, who is something who I love. Coulter he asks about, how does this relate to optimization for targeting rich snippets, targeting featured snippets, knowledge panel? People also ask, is optimizing for SGE, is that a similar process in your perspective?
Yeah, exactly. It's a similar process. And this is a good question because, a lot of people think that optimize for rich results is only for getting rich results because the game is based on the data that you have. So when I add, for example, the reviews or the structured data for the reviews or all this data, it's not only to getting the rich results itself. It's about with much more deeper understanding, of your websites, and it will optimize the whole process. So starting from Google Shopping to the Google Merchant Center to the SG, for all of this information, especially in the e-commerce, so website, the SEO of data, before starting with other things, because if you get the data right, then everything will be much more easier. So it's not only about getting a rich result. It's about improving the whole way of Google, how it can understand the informations and the data that you have on your website. Of course, more you are able to improve the data, more you are able to provide Google with better connections, better linked data, for example, explain the relation between categories and the products using knowledge graphs with ID behinds. All of this kind of optimization help getting better results. And it's not only about getting, the rich results. It's more about making the searchers understand exactly where they need to put you on the SERP, where they need to put you on Google Shopping, where they need to put you, on the product knowledge panel, all of this kind, of rich results.
So it's a mixed bag. It is to Coulter, to your specific question, and I think Dorade covers that very well. It's you, by putting your best foot forward from all aspects, you are able to be transformed into these various sections. But I would break them down into some of the actions you will take will have a direct relationship to the way that the thing appears on the search result, right? So a review, they have stars. If you don't encode your review on the page with specific markup, you won't get the stars. It's really plain, cut and dry, right? But then there is another layer of this, right? You have knowledge panels, you have Google, Google My Business, for local. you have FAQ markup, you have questions and answers in structures that can be recognized as questions and answers. You have your own structure of pages, right, that can be put into markup and cannot. And so all of these things will contribute to being understood so that when the opportunity appears, your page is understood and can be part of the pool. Imagine that you're being pulled from the pool and you are the best, most simple to digest chunk from that pool that can be positioned there. And that's one way to think about this. There are some, Google is very, very good at referencing a chunk of a page or a passage from a page and knowing where to put it. And this is a really great question from another person in the audience. And Coulter, awesome question. One thing also to do here, Coulter, on that is understanding with the search generative experience, is the response in search generative experience a simple answer, or is it a more robust representation of the funnel? So if I write, what's the capital of North Dakota, right? The simple answer is Bismarck, right? But if search generative experience presents a number of different intents, maybe it's about population, maybe it's about, do I have content that represents that entire learning journey or that entire buyer journey? Is it associated properly? So it's about knowing the way Google wants to answer this question isn't potentially a fixed intent. It's not simple intent. It could be a wider lens, or it could be a fine-tuned lens. And once you start doing that in a repetitive way, your content strategy starts to take hold and say, oh, wow, when I cover this type of topic, I need to cover it as an entire cluster, as an entire graph, so that I can win for all the possible combinations. And so that's a really great question. But another great question comes from Aheva from AHA Media Group, who is an amazing agency who I just love working with. She does a lot of work in healthcare. And she wants to know, Duraid, your take on IP issues. Is there new issues, old issues for misinterpreting content or plagiarism with the SGE? How do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, when we speak about this, I mean, on the SGE, I mean, it's an experiment anyway. So Google go and try to find the information. Of course, they need to be trusted, first of all. I mean, so Google will try, I mean, to understand who are the persons also behind, I mean, the content that we have. This is something, I mean, we are going to speak right now in the E80 section. What's important, I mean, for the search, I mean, in addition to verify if there are real people, I mean, behind. Okay, this is, I mean, because generative AI has been much. Markets are generating. Okay, so yeah, this is, I mean, nice. This side is quite in the area. So here, I mean, I was trying to do an experiment, and I was generating content with AI and see it. Okay, and we see it was about if AI can rank on Google, and we see that the article that I write with the AI was ranking very well in Google, and in the SGE also was ranking very well. So here we are, I mean, seeing a similar metrics basically. Inside the SGE, it's ranking #1. It's, I mean, inside the feature snippet, it's also ranking #1, and we see that it was creating, I mean, a lot of traffic on Google Search Console. The question comes here, I mean, how this content or can building between the AI content and by real people, and what is the element in situation? Google doesn't, I mean, care too much about in which way you are generating the content, but they need to understand who is the person behind that content. So even if I was, I mean, trying to use AI in order to generate a new content and in order to update my articles the way I prefer, Google, I mean, doesn't care the rules of EAT. When we speak, I mean, the rules of the EAT, for example, let the searcher understand who is me, and this can be done easily by using the structured data. So I think the article markup in this I'm adding all the same this for my profile. So I'm telling Google, looks, this is me. That is, I added, for example, LinkedIn profile. I added the Instagram profile, the social media profiles. They can collect all the information about me, and they know that I work in the SEO. So if I, for example, write an article about economic, it will never rank. If I write an article about SEO, it can rank. I mean, using the AI, but the content anyway is useful. And for the search engine, it's clear who is me and who is the person behind the article. This content will rank, absolutely. And this is exactly what we need. So, I mean, a lot of content writers, they think that AI will replace them. No, will never replace them. So, pushing update in order, I mean, to ensure that there are real persons, I mean, behind. Not only Google, I mean, we see all the other companies, for example, LinkedIn also try to verify your profile, and you need always to give an ID. So everyone, I mean, is trying to ensure that there are real people behind the accounts, there are real people behind the contents. This is the way that we can win it.
Hey, Durade, unfortunately, we're having some lag and technical difficulties. And we haven't even started talking about knowledge graphs or amazing stuff that we're going to get into with retrieval augmented generation. And I apologize to the audience who has come in and devoted their time. What I'm going to personally do is I'm going to record a video myself talking through these things, and we're going to send it to everybody. And Durade, I'm going to ask you to, we're either going to set up some additional time to do a quick conversation and record that and send it to this audience. So Durade, I appreciate this. We're going to get this recorded. We're going to get these recordings to you as soon as we can. But because of the quality and the delays in the clipping, your time is extremely important as an audience member. Durade, your time is very important. And we don't know where the issue is right now. We're going to get into this. I'm going to produce something that's magical, and I'm going to send it to all of you who registered or who came. Maybe even I'll review some search results that apply to all these things and start really getting into some details of how you can apply this to content planning. And Durade, I appreciate your time. So thank you for this. I'm gonna punt this quickly and give everybody back half of their hour. All right. Thanks so much, and we'll figure it out and remediate quickly.